Yesterday, the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, formally pardoned Daniel Perry, who was convicted last year for shooting and killing a Black Lives Matter protester. That was 28-year-old former Air Force mechanic Garrett Foster. And the state's Board of Pardons and Paroles put forward the recommendation for the pardon. Bear in mind, the membership of that board is put there by the governor. So this is not checks and balances, this is just his cronies. And so they said that he should pardon him, and he did. He said, Texas has one of the strongest stand your ground laws of self-defense that cannot be nullified by a jury or a progressive district attorney. I thank the board for its thorough investigation, and I approve their pardon recommendation. We're gonna talk about how thorough their investigation was. I do wanna just give a statement from the lawyer for Foster's family, the victim's family, saying, the governor of the great state of Texas has turned the rule of law on its head. It's a fair question to ask whether the governor is doing this based on the merits of the case or based on the politics. That is not a question that actually needs to be asked, because there should be no question about which of those two things was on the governor's mind when he did this. So bear in mind that Perry, the shooter, is driving an Uber. He sees a crowd of BLM protesters. He drives his car into that crowd. And then when a group of the protesters approach the car, he sees Foster, who has an AK-47 style rifle, and he pulls out his gun and he shoots that man. Now, someone in Texas walking around with an AK-47 rifle, I have often been told by the right wing, is the most patriotic sort of person in America. But if you think they might be a leftist, then maybe you feel differently. And I wanna talk about some of the claims that were made. So first of all, that it is self-defense. It's self-defense because, as the governor has said, he raised the gun and pointed it at Perry, so he had to shoot him. But notably, that's not even what Perry was claiming. Listen to this.
Video shows Perry running his car into a group of protesters, and there's no evidence, including testimony from multiple witnesses, that the victim ever raised his rifle, even though that is what Perry had claimed in his interview with police.
How high did that barrel come up? We have power about right now. Okay, was it aimed at you? I believe it was aimed at me. I believe he was going to aim it at me.
Okay, so it was not pointed at him. He believed that he was going to aim it. Well, any gun could be aimed at you. It's one of the reasons I don't think people should be casually walking around with guns. But this guy had a gun. The right wingers say you should have guns. Is the mere presence of a gun that could at some point be pointed at you justification for self-defense? In this case, based on the politics, it was. And Perry was initially convicted of murder, sentenced to 25 years in prison. But thanks to a right-wing media pushback led by Tucker Carlson, that has now been reversed and he's walked free. And I wanna add, if you're not familiar with this case, any one of the things I'm gonna read should be open and shut case. You cannot pardon this guy. This is not self-defense. So they revealed he regularly shared racist memes and threatening content in private messages and social media posts, including descriptions of killing protesters, the very thing he ended up doing. Some messages sent by Perry included, no protesters go near or my car. I might go to Dallas to shoot looters. The governor knows this, he knows this, the board knows this, they don't care. The protesters he's talking about shooting are left-wing protesters, or they're affiliated with the left, so that's enough. On June 1st, 2020, Perry commented, glad someone finally did something, on a Facebook post of a YouTube video titled, Protester Looters Get Shot, San Antonio, Texas. He also, just as a little flavor on top, sent messages about hunting Muslims and about killing a daughter if she had a crush on a little Negro boy. So he fantasized about killing protesters. He said it was good when other people shot protesters. And if his daughter merely had a crush on a boy, he would murder her. And this is the guy who legitimately was so scared for his life with the gun being near him that he had to gun down the protester. Yeah. And that is what Greg Abbott is so thrilled, and the right is cheering that he has now been released. They've got their new Kyle Rittenhouse, I guess.
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth, as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you. Yeah, this is why I can't ever be a Republican until the party changes completely, because who could stand this pardon? This pardon of a disgusting creep who fantasized about killing a protester and then did it. He's definitely guilty, he's adjudicated guilty. He's guilty in every imaginable way. And the right wing's like, who cares? He shot a left winger. That's awesome. We love that murder let him go. And then Greg Abbott, the monster that's the governor of Texas, is like, oh, shooting and murdering left-wingers, that's great. Of course I'm gonna pardon you. So I just wanna understand the standards. I wanna understand the standards, okay? So does that mean we can shoot anyone we want in Texas if they're carrying a weapon? Because he said, well, I was threatened by the mere existence of a weapon. So from what I understand, the right-wingers say open carry, everybody should be allowed to carry weapons. Okay, so if you're carrying a weapon, is someone allowed to consider you a threat and then shoot you in the head? I go, well, I thought he was gonna aim it at me. Because that's the exact standard that Abbott just set. I'm not exaggerating 1%. You just saw it with your own eyes. He was not aiming the weapon. He has every right to carry it in Texas. This is actually an open assault on people who believe that you're allowed to carry weapons and believe that that's what the Second Amendment says. But they're all okay with it as long as you murdered a left-winger. Be honest, there is no defense here. There's no defense, none. So okay, let's keep going. Can people do this to right-wingers in blue states? I mean, apparently you could just murder a left-winger in Texas as long as even if they're exercising their constitutional rights to speech and to the Second Amendment. First Amendment, Second Amendment. So if right-wingers are protesting like January 6th or anything, and especially if the ones that have weapons, and there's tons of them that have weapons at these protests, can we go and mow them down because we were afraid that for our lives because we happen to be in the area? I'm asking. Or is it only that right-wingers can murder left-wingers and get away with it? I just want to be clear on what the laws are.
It's clear.
Yeah,
it's
so
clear.
Texas, you have to be in, look man, I get it, people have family in Texas, they gotta live there, etc. But you'd have to be nuts to move to Texas where the governor says, I'll let you murder left-wingers and I'll pardon you. I don't give a goddamn about the Second Amendment. I don't care about your constitutional rights. I don't care who's right. I don't care that you're convicted. I don't care about your jury of your. I don't care about anything. Murder a left-winger, and I'm going to reward you. That's a sick man that he is. And now, finally, okay, if we allow this, and I don't want it to be reciprocal. I don't want people killing right-wingers. That's nuts. Totally, utterly nuts. But soon we're going to have pandemonium. We're going to have total chaos where we're murdering each other in the streets, and governors are pardoning every murderer depending on their politics. This is what America has devolved to. And this one is, you've seen me criticize the Democrats 1 billion times. You've seen me criticize the extreme left. You've seen me criticize everybody in the different issues. This one is 100% the right wing, 100%. And anyone who's in favor of this law is not an American and is not in favor of the Second Amendment and just thinks, yeah, might is right, we get to murder them. It's disgusting.
Listen, it's absolutely disgusting. I would say though, it is American, right? As American as apple pie and baseball, if you consider the fact of the history of the Second Amendment. This was a law that was written for white men, basically, and white women. Free or enslaved black people could not own guns because of the Second Amendment, or in spite of. So I think for me, when you remember, before Donald Trump came in the world, the favorite Republican, I think, was the Gipper, Ronald Reagan. But if you remember when Ronald Reagan was governor of California in the 60s, when the Black Panthers showed up with their shotguns, the first thing they did was pass the Mumford Act to curtail the rights of black people being active. So I think, and we saw what happened to white people in the civil rights movement, people that would stand on the side of black people, arguing that black people deserve equal rights and protection under the Constitution. So white people marching with Black Lives Matter might as well be black people in the eyes of right-wingers. And that's it. And that's how simple it is. And you fall in that category, whether you are white, black, or green. If you are standing in a BLM protest to the purveyor of this kind of terror, then you are equal to. So you deserve whatever they give you in their eyes. We've never heard the National Rifle Association stand up on behalf of black people. When Philando Castile was killed in his car, and he told the police officer, I have a gun which is registered. Here's my registration. He was still shot dead. The NRA said nothing about that.
Yep.
So we already know what it is. When you are anti-establishment or conservative, then you absolutely don't have the right to be anything except for killed, apparently.
Yeah, and let me just do one more. ironic part of the right-wing zealotry about murdering left-wingers. So when Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted, they were like, he's acquitted, jury of his peers. You have to respect the justice system. You have to respect the jury. He's acquitted. He didn't say, it was perfectly fine to shoot and kill those two people. Then Daniel Perry's convicted. They're like, it doesn't mean a goddamn thing. Did he kill a left winger? Yes, we love this guy. Let him go. Convicted, justice system, jury of his peers. Who gives a goddamn? We never cared about that. Might is right. We murder you. We get away with it.
Again, you can use stand your ground. You mentioned Philando Castile. I don't remember the name of the woman. Remember the woman who fired warning shots against, I think it was her husband or ex-husband? And she literally didn't even shoot him, and she couldn't stand her ground. And by the way, my final point before we go to break. So the way this has worked is right-wingers have, in multiple cases, put themselves in situations where they can claim to be scared and have to shoot. And in both cases, either a weapon, a hand weapon, or a gun, in the case of the AK-47, wasn't even pointed towards him, but that's what they claim justified the killing. And so then they whipped out their gun. At that point, if any of the other protesters saw that, they could gun that person down and be totally legally fine, apparently, because that's how self-defense works. Now that hasn't happened because generally left-wingers don't carry a lot of guns to these protests. And I just want to say this to the right-wingers who are super excited about seeing this and thinking about how they will get to live out this fantasy. That is a thing that can change. Left-wingers don't typically bring guns everywhere they go because they typically haven't been given the okay by the government for right-wingers to hunt them down. But they can go out and buy guns. You might find that if you go to kill protesters, that maybe you face heavier firepower than you expect. Again, like you, I don't want to see it happen, but it's definitely gonna happen as this continues to spread.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.